Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, what's the future of the struggling Circle Center Mall? We get a commercial real estate update. IU's med school is creating an oncology program. Purdue University looks to address a special ed teacher shortage. The IHSAA looks to address a referee shortage. Culture Matters spotlights Hollywood in northern Indiana. And our panel of insiders takes on the week's top stories. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Major changes are coming to Circle Center Mall in downtown Indianapolis. The nearly 25-year-old mall will get a multi-million-dollar renovation, aiming to give it a fresh, contemporary look. But will that save the struggling mall? Cushman & Wakefield Executive Director Bill French and IU Kelly retail expert John Talbot joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to weigh in.
Bill, I'll start with you. The news this week, around midweek, came out, multi-million-dollar facelift to really change the look and the feel of Circle Center. Your take on developments?
I'm so excited. This is the time to repurpose and redevelop the mall. Downtown's on such a roll, perfect timing.
Is it enough? I mean, you're going to make it look nice and pretty, but there's a lot of publicity, a lot of attention on the Carsons leaving, some other stores leaving. Is a facelift enough?
I certainly think it is, because there is such a good location. So many opportunities for a lot of new retailers and new restaurants to come to the marketplace. Circle Center is where a lot of people want to be.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you in a moment about some of the potential replacement tenants that might be coming. John, as you look at the changing demographic downtown, when the mall opened, there certainly weren't many people living downtown.
Right.
Convention business continues to be, and even to a greater extent, a big piece of business downtown. But as you look at the demographic and what the mall might become, does it take into account folks living downtown?
Well, I would think that this is an opportunity, as Bill suggested. Retail is evolving, and the nature of the entities that occupy shopping centers are changing. And it used to be that folks were entertained by purchasing an object. Today, they're entertained by maybe going to a really nice restaurant, or by working out in a gym, or some other shopping for a Tesla vehicle. Yeah. So malls are really changing and evolving. The other purpose is just with a population that lives downtown, maybe there's an opportunity to serve them ways that could be useful.
John, as we were talking off camera, you kind of hinted or suggested that the Carsons departure in some ways could be viewed, as a positive or as an opportunity to really change the dynamic of the mall.
Yeah, malls are always evolving, and fortunately, this mall is operated by an entity that has the financial wherewithal to be able to invest. And so as malls tend to operate in chunks, people's preferences are changing continuously. So sometimes things like this give us an opportunity to catch up to changes in preferences.
All right, Bill, take a stab at what you could see happening. As we were again talking off camera, you could see a very different mall maybe taking shape. Take a look, or give us your thoughts on the Carson space, that first level there, what might happen there, and then maybe up above.
The first level of the Carson space, certainly I'd love to see a new retailer coming in selling suits and ties, but that's just not necessarily what's going to happen. I could really see this being divvied up for 3 really top-notch restaurant operations not doing business in Indianapolis today. Mm-hmm. Could drive a lot more foot traffic and a lot more sales volume out of the mall. Upstairs, we could see office, we could see a multifamily component. Could be condos, could be apartments, even possibly a hotel.
Mm-hmm. As you look at the owners, Simon Property Group, obviously the biggest mall player with significant roots here in Indianapolis, does that make a difference in what this mall becomes in terms of the level of investment and interest and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Simon has connections throughout the country, throughout the world, and they put those to work every single day. And they're putting them to work right now to bring new people into the mall.
Mm-hmm. John, as you look at, again, the evolving nature of malls, and you kind of layer in the e-commerce factor and all those kinds of things, does the fact this is an urban mall, a downtown mall, make it different at all in terms of what this needs to become? Does the focus on entertainment and restaurant and some other things become maybe more necessary in an urban mall like this?
Well, I agree with Bill. I think a mixed use case where there is some office, maybe some residence, coupled with places to eat, tends to make more sense in urban environments. And I'm familiar with Bellevue Square Mall out, which is growing into sort of an urban area, and they have a circle of hotel development, a lot of high-end residences that are opportunities there. And so I agree with Bill. I think that a mixed use case makes a lot of sense in this particular situation.
As we wrap up, Bill, what can you see as a timeline, or how long could you see these renovations taking place and at the same time backfilling in with some new tenants?
Good thing is there's a lot of demand right now, so people are already ready to hit the gas and go. But generally, commercial transactions can take 12 to 18 months to put together, so we may not see the fruits of all the activity until sometime in 2019.
All right, we'll be following up, I'm sure, in between now and then. Bill French from Cushman & Wakefield, John Talbot from the Kelley School of Business at IU. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Still to come, the IU School of Medicine looks to put a big gift to good use, and Purdue takes on the need for special ed teachers. But first, while the industrial market remains strong, some are wondering about the future of retail. Cushman & Wakefield Vice President Jason Tolliver came in studio to give us a commercial real estate update.
First of all, I want to start, you're talking about a strong market 2017 and into the new year in central Indiana, but really seeing that percolate around the state.
Yeah, you know, we thought it would be a pretty solid year statewide in 2017. Actually surprised me to the upside. And I think what bodes really well for 2018 is we saw leasing accelerate as the year went on. So commercial real estate and property markets got stronger, and early indications into 2018 is that that's going to continue.
All right, let's look at some of the segments. The office market continues to do well.
Yeah, we see growth both in the central business districts around the state as well as the suburban markets. So you're seeing really strong performance in Fort Wayne and Indianapolis. Evansville is looking solid. So I think that's going to continue. You're seeing really tight market conditions in most of those metros. And, you know, I think there's some indication that the leasing fundamentals may soften a little bit in 2018, but really positive outlook.
Industrial, and central Indiana in particular, continues to be a dynamo in that market.
You know, it really has. We're seeing growth across all sizes and all sectors, and by that I mean logistics and distribution, food and beverage, manufacturing. But I think what was most interesting to me last year is that over half of the new leasing that we saw in central Indiana were new tenants, so new to the markets, choosing Indiana. And that really tells me that this phenomenal growth that we know will occur with e-commerce, that's going to lift Indiana as well. So it just continues to fire on all cylinders.
So you're really seeing e-commerce as a potential real positive?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's driving historic levels of leasing, and we're attracting new tenants that are coming in, both pure online retailers as well as the third-party logistics firms that services those. So Indiana is a great place to be to service markets on the East Coast and then also the greater Chicago area as well.
All right, let's look at the retail market. A different picture there. A lot of closures and bankruptcies that we saw in 2017. How do you look at the market?
Yeah, a lot of blood in the headlines for sure on the retail segment. I wouldn't read too much into that. I think a lot of the idea that retail's dead is overblown. There's some really strong bright spots, strong leasing in Class A. I think mixed-use developments are performing phenomenally well. So certainly some secular stress in the retail segment, but not impacting all levels of retail.
You are seeing a correction, though, in particular in restaurants.
Yeah, so a lot of restaurant growth. About 60% of the leasing of the last couple of years have been restaurant-driven. So I think you're going to see that shake out a little bit in 2018. Not everybody's going to make it, but again, that's long been the story in retail. So it doesn't make me concerned or cautious necessarily for the retail.
Overview, as you look for the rest of 2018, how do you look at the
You know, I think it's going to be another good year. I think the market's probably going to peak in 2018, maybe soften a little bit in 2019, but there's no indication that the bottom's going to fall out. I think it's going to remain a landlord favorable environment with tenants probably getting some leverage towards the latter part of 18 into 19.
All right, Jason Tolliver, Cushman & Wakefield, always great perspective on the commercial real estate market. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Later in the podcast, how do we get more special education teachers in classrooms? And how do we get more referees in high school sports? But now, the Indianapolis-based Walther Cancer Foundation has awarded a $14 million gift to the Indiana University School of Medicine. IU says the gift will help create a supportive oncology program. Walther Cancer Foundation Vice President of Programs Craig Brader discussed the project with Barb Lewis in the Business of Health.
So let's talk a little bit about what this grant is going to go towards, because quality of life is a wide range here. What are you focusing on?
I think that what strikes me is we talk a lot about patient-centered care, so I put it in that framework. So anyone who's diagnosed with cancer, I don't want to make short shrift of it, but you know, there's a treatment program and they're going to get certain drugs or radiation or surgery or all of those. But then there are all these other dimensions that occur with a patient and their families, and those are going to be different for different people. And those might be things like emotional needs. They might be things like financial challenges and they need advice. It may be things like social support. Could be pain. It could be somebody who survived cancer and now they have to be concerned about, well, gee, what do I need to worry about in my future? Is this thing going to come back? Am I at risk of other cancers? All of that kind of stuff. That's highly individual, and so the notion is that this is a program that's sort of wraparound, and it basically adds to the traditional treatment and says, how can we help you and your family with your unique needs in all of these different areas?
I think people are very scared of the financial toll that cancer takes. Can you tell me a little bit about how you'd help them financially?
It's not going to be like direct financial support, like, okay, you need to get one of these new drugs that costs a fortune, and we're going to help you pay for that. It's going to be more like, okay, how can we help you find out if there are support programs to which you can access? Are you making sure that your insurance company is paying for what you think they ought to pay for? If you have other needs beyond that, does the manufacturer have special programs? Basically, what are all the different avenues that you can pursue to help make sure that you and your family don't go into financial ruin just for the treatment? Because we don't want you to be worrying about that. We want you to be worrying about being as healthy as you can.
Now, I've been saying $14 million, but this is a much bigger grant. And this is a really big push. I mean, the largest of its kind. So why this? I know Walther Cancer Foundation also funds cancer research, but this is a really big push.
Right. It took us a long time to figure out that this was where we wanted to focus our efforts. Some of our efforts, we do, as you say, continue to support cancer research, but we wanted to find an area where there was a major need and where a foundation of our size could really have a substantial impact. And we talked to a lot of people in the cancer community, and they helped guide us to this area of supportive oncology. The foundation has supported some aspects of what we now call supportive oncology in the past, but it's been kind of piecemeal. We wanted to really say, well, look, what would a comprehensive program be like where we could have extraordinary impact in terms of the number of patients and families affected, but also to do it in a fashion that it's an example that could be emulated elsewhere so that people would look to us to say, wow, those people are doing it right. We need to use that as a guide to what we can do.
Okay, so Dr. Jim Cleary coming on July 1st, and then this is part of, so your $14 million goes along with, is it a total of 28? How many funds are available?
Probably even more than that,
okay.
Because IU has a match as part of their capital campaign. So right there, we leverage the 14 to 28, so it doubles. But then in addition, IU Health is bringing substantial resources to the table, as is the School of Medicine, as is the Department of Medicine, as is the Division of General Internal Medicine. So that all adds up to probably another $15 million for the whole program. So it is extraordinary. And that's why we were able to recruit Jim Cleary, who you just mentioned, from the University of Wisconsin, who is a true leader in the field, who will be the inaugural director of this program and really get it going.
All right, well, we wish you well. We'll have you back as it moves along. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, the IHSAA is facing a referee shortage, and our Culture Matters segment looks at a northern Indiana furniture maker. But first, a new accelerated degree program in Purdue University's College of Education aims to help reverse a statewide shortage of special education teachers. The Fast Track program allows students to graduate in 3 years. Jasmine Bajeski with Purdue joined IIB with details.
And this is, again, in keeping with a number of these innovative programs that schools like Purdue are embracing in terms of the 3-year degrees to get folks out into the workplace sooner. But to kind of tee the conversation up in terms of the shortage of special education teachers, it's something that's very real. Talk about the challenge in terms of the numbers of teachers.
Right. We're experiencing shortages across the nation and especially in Indiana. And special education is one of those critical areas where we need more teachers, and we need teachers who are trained and licensed to deal with students with disabilities.
Are there factors, a number of factors that kind of have led to this shortage?
We have a lot of retirees, and we have fewer students who are choosing to become teachers.
Let's talk about this fast track program. So I think the goal is to get qualified folks into the system more quickly. The fast track, it's a 3-year special education degree. How does it all work?
So they will be learning throughout the year as opposed to taking the summer off. It will be the same 120 credit hours as a 4-year degree. And the summer they have some options. They have on-campus classes or online or study abroad options.
In terms of those students who go through the program, the 3-year, they get that degree, what will they be qualified and licensed to teach?
Sure. They'll be special education teachers for mild interventions. They'll be able to teach students who have autism, ADHD, learning disabilities.
This is not a program, I would assume, for everybody. You mentioned it's a year-round program, including summers. So is it a special student or a certain kind of student that's going to be qualified for this?
Sure. We'll also have the 4-year degree option. So the 3-year degree option is for a highly motivated student who is committed year-round and who really wants to get in the classroom.
You're going to be launching this in the fall. You've just recently announced it, this new 3-year fast track degree program. What's been the interest? What's been the reaction?
Surprising interest. We have students who are ready to sign up for this major, and we just announced it.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Very good. A 3-year fast track degree program, special education degree program, the first of its kind in Indiana, will be launched at Purdue this fall. Jasmine Bajeski, clinical instructor in educational studies at Purdue. Thanks for joining us, and good luck with the program.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Later in the podcast, Culture Matters spotlights Pollywood, and our panel of insiders weighs in on the top stories of the week. But now, the Indiana High School Athletic Association is facing a numbers problem. It needs more qualified officials to meet the demand from more than 410 member schools. Now, the organization says a partnership with the Indiana National Guard may be the answer. IHSAA Assistant Commissioner Sandra Walter talked about the idea with Bill Benner in Inside Indiana Sports.
This could indeed be groundbreaking. Why the National Guard? Why is that such a perfect fit?
Good question. I don't know about groundbreaking, but we feel like it might be a very good partnership. Our National Guardsmen are part-time, looking for part-time employment with flexible opportunities, serving their community. Our officiating license would give them just that, and we think we can make it a win-win.
And in many cases, they have the right personality traits to become an official.
Yeah, unfortunately. And if you're speaking of right personality, you've got a few fans in the stands who will have some comments from time to time, but we think that person from the Guard, those Guardsmen are equipped to handle that. And again, serving their community and working with our student athletes.
So you've already done the outreach with the Indiana National Guard, and so we're in the preliminary stages of setting this partnership up. You mentioned before we went on the air, the official, and again, getting the right number of officials to serve all the sports you do. But the number one hindrance is not pay, it's not travel, it's not time spent away from family. It's the abuse that they take.
It is the treatment from the fans in the stands. You are right. National data shows from our Officials Association that is the number one reason that once you recruit an official, you cannot retain them.
What a sad commentary that is in many respects.
We're working on that.
Yeah, the sports that are in particular in need of officials.
Sure. You talk team sports, it's our football, soccer, baseball. You talk individual sports, wrestling, gymnastics, swimming and diving, track and field. So our average age of official in Indiana is 50.1 years of age.
And you also have an initiative called Stay in the Game, where you're looking to target younger people, especially IHSAA student athletes whose careers are over.
Yep, absolutely. So we started identifying those kids who are graduating, who have exhausted their eligibility at the high school level, looking to go into college. What better part-time job than to go into college? There is not one college student who, if they wish to earn their license, could earn somewhere around $200 to $300 per week, just as a part-time, flexible schedule. They're an independent contractor. They'll set their own schedule. work their own hours.
Okay, so if, let's just say, not me, but a younger person wants to become an official, and basketball, what's the process?
Well, first of all, you're invited. Secondly, the process is hop on our .org website, IHSAA.org. There's an officials tab, there's a drop down, there's a link to register, and off we go.
And how do you advance up the ranks? I mean, I would assume everybody thinks, well, I got to start out doing 4th and 5th grade youth league games.
Well, you start out where you're comfortable, but you certainly don't want to start out in a really big game hosted with 3,000 people there. That's not the best way for an official to start. But starting in that junior high level, working into the freshman level, JV level, and then into your varsity.
And back to the National Guard, one of the important things I thought you said, these people are really integrated into their communities. So this is, again, it's potentially a really wonderful fit.
We think so.
Yeah.
We think so.
Okay, you talked about going to the website. How do you advance as an official? You said you assign mentors and.
Yes. So this new recruit initiative, where with the National Guardsmen, for instance, we offer a free license through one of our 24 associations across the state. So just to recruit someone in, to retain them, you've got to hook them in with a mentor. Then you've got to give them some resources. And so those 24 associations, you belong, as an official, you would belong to that. Those are your meetings, those are your professional development opportunities, those are your clinic opportunities. So we don't simply just license them and throw them to the schools to have at it. We actually bring them in, train them, and couple them with a veteran official.
Yeah, well, great information. It's a great potential program with the National Guard. And folks, if you're watching out there, ease up on the officials. They're people just like you and I, and they're trying to do a good job. Senator Walter, thanks for being on the show.
Still to come, our Insiders panel gives perspective on the week's biggest stories. But first, for nearly 30 years, furniture manufacturer Pollywood has called the northern Indiana community of Syracuse home. It has grown from humble beginnings to employ more than 350. Pollywood is the subject of this month's Culture Matters segment with first-person managing director Paul Ashley.
Pollywood LLC, fascinating story. They're making lawn furniture, right? Outdoor furniture from recycled milk jugs.
Yeah, other recycled plastic product. Last year, 54 million milk jugs exited the system and came into theirs to become these end products. Adirondack chairs being their most popular. About 32,000 of those sold last year and growing. Yeah. They sell through direct to consumer on their website, Amazon, and they also do private label for LL Bean for the last 8 years. Wow. Pretty amazing.
Amazing story. Just a couple of entrepreneurs came up with the idea a number of years ago, and it has grown into this. We've grown from a handful of employees, now 350 employees.
And they headed to 400 by the end of the calendar year because the demand continues to go up. And Doug, their current CEO and president, who was one of the founders, he shared with us it's always been their mission to really help have an ecological impact, but always be focused on people because they knew if they grew their people, they would grow their business. And that certainly is seen when you go up there.
Well, let's talk about the culture, because automation and manufacturing is a big piece of what they do there. So training and that attention to training is really important.
Yeah, very clean manufacturing facility. Really amazing technology, great machinery to see. They hire builders, that's the entry-level job, and they love to promote from within. I think it was 87% of their promotions or hires come from within. And they have a very specific, I call it Pollywood University, I don't know if that's what they actually call it, but it's a certification program that trains the builders up through the system, even up to become management and opportunity to get in there. And they take it so seriously, they award these folks. And one of the things they get when they get certified is a new t-shirt. And you hear these stories about how much pride there is in this, and they take their t-shirt, they go into the bathroom, and they change the rest of the day they're in their t-shirt. It's pretty cool to see.
And I talked in the introduction about the company really staying true to its values, its mission from the beginning, some nearly 30 years ago. And a part of that is sustainability, ecology, and the recycling piece. Right?
Yeah, they absolutely feel really committed to that. And last year they started a program with the local schools, and they challenged local schools that if you give us 1,000 milk jugs, we'll give you the opportunity to earn a bench, a Pollywood bench, really high quality furniture. And it went so well that 7 schools qualified in the area. They collected 10,000 jugs, but not only that, they gave the students a chance to come and see the facility, learn about how this works, the ecological impact. So that company and community interaction was really important part of who they are.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, Syracuse is in the Lake Wawasee area in northern Indiana. Another focus, mission-focused people and staying true to people. I know that's a big part of the culture.
Yeah, it's a big part of the culture. And as they've grown, they've got this kind of sprawling 6-building campus. New recycling center came online last year, and it's harder to communicate internally. So they do a lot of video, and they do a lot of gathering together purposefully so that they can have town halls and communication. They even have a culture committee they formed, and the whole idea of the culture committee is to get out outside of work, get together, experience fun, raise money for certain charities. They do a lot of stuff at Christmas, bowling, softball leagues, to break down those barriers of being on a campus, which is a benefit they have, but that can make it harder for people to know and grow together, and that culture committee owns that, which is great. Yeah,
fascinating story. Pollywood LLC in Syracuse, near Lake Wawasee in northern Indiana. Paul Ashley is the managing director at First Person. Paul, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.
All right.
And finally, our group of insiders offers its take on the week's top stories. This week's panel includes financial advisor and author Peter Dunn, Visit Indy Vice President Chris Gall, and Copper Mountain Technology CEO Irina Gulashokin.
I started off with Sunday sales only to say it's been talked about for a long time. As we're taping now, it has passed the House and Senate on its way to Governor Holcomb's desk for signature. Maybe March 4 could be the first Sunday for carry-out sales. Is it going to matter? Is it going to impact consumer behavior?
I think off the bat, consumers will find the novelty in going on Sunday and picking up cold beer. But in the long run, I don't know that it will impact consumer behaviors, whether it's football season or not. So good for the state, I think, to bring our policy up to speed, but not necessarily consumers changing their mind in the long run.
Yeah, maybe grab a bottle of wine at the grocery store on Sunday, possibly. I think this sort of clears another one of those things about Indiana that seems sort of weird, right? So even if you look at the Amazon decision that's coming up, this is one of those things that we can eliminate, be past it, and that's what I
You've got daylight saving time.
Exactly.
Let's
just put it behind us.
Very good. Another big story this week concerning a high-profile property in Indianapolis, Circle Center Mall. Obviously, it's been around for, nearly 25 years now, been a major catalyst for downtown's renaissance. Fallen on hard times, some would suggest, certainly. Irina, as you look at this week, an announcement from Simon and partners of a facelift, multi-million-dollar facelift. Your thoughts? Is this headed in the right direction? A lot of people are concerned about the future of Circle Center.
It's a great space to have downtown Indy, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity to create a multi-purpose venue that includes dining and some retail, but also includes some culture. We have a fabulous museum, the IMA. Every time I take visitors from all over the world to see the IMA, they're excited. They can't believe the quality of the artwork in the museum. What about creating a place downtown where you can exhibit temporary exhibitions from the IMA? That would be a fabulous way to attract people to the culture in this city.
Yeah, have a presence downtown. Pete, as you look at it, I've heard people this week say, hey, it's great they're freshening up the look, but unless you get the right mix of stores and other attractions there, it's not going to matter.
You always hear people say, well, they should put a Target there, or they should put, who's they? Yeah. Because it doesn't actually work that way. If those companies want to come, they'll come. The first step is putting some polish on it, making it a place where foot traffic, is popular, and then maybe they will put a Target there. Right?
Yeah. Important venue for the certainly for the convention business, for sure. But also, as you know, when this mall opened, there weren't many people living downtown. You got a lot of people living, so the demographics have shifted.
Yeah, and record-setting visitors. We have more hotels connected via climate-controlled skywalk into that downtown mall. We still see heavy foot traffic. I'm confident that Simon's commitment to the community means they will continue to enhance and reimagine an urban mall, if that's a hotel, if that's shopping or attractions. But we're fortunate that Simon is in the backyard of Circle Center Mall.
I was in Orlando last week, and there was a mall, a Simon Mall, with a hotel in it, right? So if that's the direction that malls are going, then by God, let's do it.
And it could be connected to the convention center. It was a good footprint.
And some have suggested that Carson's leaving, which got a lot of attention, an anchor store, maybe is in a sense a positive, because it kind of forces the issue in looking at doing different things there.
And department stores are not the most popular retail format anymore. We've moved on.
We're talking about Amazon HQ2. and consumers' behavior in beer sales, it's shopping, isn't necessarily the mall of the future. It could be more attraction in a hotel.
All right, shifting gears to Southwest Indiana. Vectren Corporation, based in Evansville, announced some big projects this week, nearly $1 billion in a national natural gas investment, and also a big solar project that they're investing in. So as you look at the investment, again, in solar, alternative green technology, if you will, Vectren making a big play there.
Makes me proud. It's great for Indiana to have that kind of technology. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for us in technology world everywhere.
Yep. Another big story from a business standpoint, Knowledge Services here in central Indiana, software company. Joe and Julie Balaski founded the company a number of years ago, have grown from a small number of employees to well over 1,500 employees. Moving their headquarters to Fishers. They're not alone. Others are doing it too. A lot of activity there. They announced this week developer and plans to move forward with this brand new shiny office complex in Fishers. Just the latest in a series of developments there.
That's a catchphrase, moving to Fishers,
right,
in a good way. And Mayor Scott Fadness in his first term really continuing with big wins. He's thinking regionally. Congratulations. Good for Fishers.
Pete, as you look at the evolution of Fishers, I remember we moved to town in a long time ago, 83, so that was a long time ago, but it was literally very little there. Sunblessed was about it.
Yeah, I lived there right after college, early 2000, and you would drive out of Fishers to do things. You'd live there and go somewhere else. Now people can stay, and the money can stay there. I mean, in sort of that traditional sense. I think the next 5 years is going to be just massive for Fishers.
Yeah. Irina, you talk about the mix in a place like Circle Center and getting that right. I think it's maybe the same in a place like Fishers. A lot going on. You've got corporate relocations there. You've got IKEA and Topgolf. You've got business, those business relocations. You've got traffic issues. You've got all those kinds of things. How difficult? It seems to me it would be a balancing act if you're a Scott Fadness or leadership in Fishers to make sure you get that mix right.
Of course it is, and I think traffic and transportation is a big issue for central Indiana, for all the cities, including Indianapolis and Fishers. That's why there's an effort that I'm a part of regionally to put together a personal mobility network that will help people move around the city, even if they don't have a car.
Yeah, and again,
that's the future.
Talking about that Amazon HQ, that's another piece
Absolutely.
of it as well. Another big news on the convention side, certainly impacting downtown Indianapolis. Gen Con announced this week they're headed toward another sellout, and also an announcement that Gen Con is extended for another year, right, through 2022, I think.
Yep, 2022, the city's largest convention, Safe and Sound. That's not without challenges. They are, amidst other major conventions, outgrowing the city. That's why we're looking at very carefully another sizable 800 to 1,000 room hotel. But yeah, Safe and Sound, record-setting attendance. This would be 10 years in a row here in Indianapolis. And they'll sell out, but they need some breathing room as it relates to hotels.
You mentioned the hotel, and we talked to Leonard Hoops a couple of weeks ago, requests for information out for developers for potential 800 to 1,000 room hotel. Without that, could it be a challenge with big events like Gen Con?
Yeah, we have 10 to 12 conventions that are held here annually that are growing out of hotel space. So not only Gen Con, but then you put in other major sporting events. Again, we want to be methodical in how many rooms and where they go, but keeping Gen Con safe and sound is tied to breathing room as it relates to hotels. And it's not just for them, it's other major events and conventions.
All right. Well, in terms of popularity and growth, TechPoint announced this week the nominees for its annual Mira Awards, kind of the Academy Awards of technology in Indiana. And Irina, interesting, this is a huge event, as you know, each and every year. This year, a record number of nominees.
I know, I judged one of them.
Did you? Okay,
We
good.
had a lot more nominees this year than we did last year.
Yeah,
It's
what
very
is
exciting.
that? Make a statement about technology and innovation. It's talked a lot, but when you see the numbers come in for an event like this, what does that say about
We now
technology?
have a technology industry that is being recognized nationally. I'm just back from California. I was talking to people about what's going on in Indianapolis, and everybody's very impressed. It translates into convenience for everybody. There are direct flights to San Francisco now. Why? Because of technology industry. There's a direct flight to Charles de Gaulle in France. Why? Because of technology industry. We drive a lot of jobs and we drive a lot of growth, and everybody benefits.
Yeah, I'll give you the last word on that, Pete, because those things that Irina mentioned, you're right, the nonstop flights, which used to be a huge challenge, that's changed. And I think in large part because of technology.
Yeah, and it impacts other people not in tech. As I go to try to get flights places, Salesforce being here and with was ExactTarget first, that all helps, and these newer companies that are growing, they continue to help as well.
All right, Peter Dunn, Irina Goloshokin, and also Chris Gall. Thank you, one and all.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.